Welcome to CN's annual general meeting.
Mon nom est Shawneen Bruder and I'm the chair of the board of CN. Je vous souhaite la bienvenue à l'Assemblée d'actionnaires du CN 2026. I would like to introduce the senior officers of CN joining me on the webcast this morning. Tracy Robinson, President and Chief Executive Officer. Ghislaine Houle, Executive Vice President and Chief Financial Officer. And Christine Turcelli, Vice President, Corporate Secretary, and General Counsel. I will act as chair of the meeting, and Christina will act as secretary of the meeting. Before we continue, I would invite Christina to address introductory remarks, a safety moment, and forward-looking statements.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Dans le contexte de l'engagement du CN envers la réconciliation au Canada, il est important pour nous de reconnaître en tout respect que notre chemin de fer a été construit et continue d'être exploité sur de nombreux territoires traditionnels et terres visées par un traité avec les peuples autochtones. CN's network spans 13,200 miles across Canada and operates within or adjacent to more than 220 reserve lands of nearly 130 First Nations and Métis communities. Nous sommes reconnaissants d'avoir le privilège de travailler et de résider sur ces terres. Nous reconnaissons et honorons les premiers peuples qui continuent d'être les gardiens traditionnels de la terre. I would now like to draw your attention to the forward-looking statements and additional legal information available at the beginning of the presentation. Today's meeting contains certain forward-looking statements within the meaning of U.S. and Canadian securities laws. These statements are subject to risks and uncertainties that may cause actual results to differ materially from those expressed or implied in these statements. At CN, every work assignment begins with a safety moment. Today is no different. En prévision de l'été qui s'en vient, bon nombre d'entre nous planifient probablement des escapades routières avec famille et amis. Outre la nécessité de demeurer vigilant, et d'observer la signalisation routière au volant, l'opération Gare au train prodigue des conseils sur la sécurité autour des voies ferrées et des trains. N'allez pas sur les voies ferrées, les trains vont plus vite qu'on pense. Vous n'entendrez ou ne sentirez pas nécessairement le train qui approche et lorsque vous vous rendrez compte de sa proximité, il pourrait être trop tard. Utilisez les passages à niveau. Ils sont conçus pour vous permettre de franchir la voie en toute sécurité. Au passage à niveau, tenez-vous à au moins 5 mètres des voies lorsqu'un train passe. Respectez la signalisation. Il y a beaucoup de panneaux et de dispositifs de signalisation ferroviaire qui indiquent quand un train arrive et à quel endroit et à quel moment vous pouvez franchir la voie ferrée. Le respect de ces indications est un gage de sécurité. Soyez vigilants et gardez-vous vos distances. Aux gares, tenez-vous loin du bord du quai ou de la ligne de sécurité. La meilleure façon de ne pas se faire frapper par un train est de rester hors de son chemin.
Thank you, Christina. It's an honor to preside over our meeting of shareholders. Je tiens à remercier le personnel, mes collègues de conseil d'administration, nos clients, nos actionnaires et les collectivités dans lesquelles nous travaillons pour le soutien continu. CN and our railroaders are driven by our purpose to power the economy and to safely deliver essential goods across North America. In 2025, we demonstrated the resilience of our network amid a challenging macroeconomic environment. By focusing on operational efficiency, service consistency, cost discipline, and capital allocation, we delivered strong performance and positioned ourselves well for 2026 and beyond. As a board, we continue to exercise oversight of CN's strategy with a view to ensuring that management is driven, effectively leveraging our network advantages, navigating market uncertainty, and pursuing opportunities aimed at driving strong business performance and growth. We are confident in the company's direction. Moreover, the board and management remain focused on collaboration and believe that competition is imperative and in the best interests of our customers, our shareholders, and the economy. Safety is our core value and foremost priority. CN is providing the leadership, training, and resources necessary for our continuous improvement in safety as we work toward our ambitious safety objectives. In 2025, we proactively trained more than 5,000 first responders on rail safety and emergency incident response. And our annual emergency preparedness exercise in British Columbia was recognized with an award from the Railway Association of Canada. CN is charting a course for a sustainable future by delivering responsibly. We act responsibly for the environment. We attract and develop top talent, and we help build safer, stronger communities. We do all of this while upholding the highest standards of governance and creating value for shareholders. Sustainability is at the heart of our business strategy. Le succès continu du CN repose sur notre équipe de cheminots expérimentés. Grâce au développement des talents et à la planification de la relève, le Conseil s'assure de disposer des capacités de leadership nécessaires pour réaliser la stratégie à long terme du CN. We are also deepening engagement with stakeholders across our network. Of note, in 2025, CN made meaningful progress in the first year of our Indigenous Reconciliation Action Plan, which provides a strong foundation for our ongoing efforts to support and honor Indigenous communities in Canada. In addition, the board continues to listen directly to customers and maintains open dialogue with key stakeholders in order to capture valuable opportunities today and in the future. Finally, the board remains steadfast in our commitment to ensure the highest standards of corporate governance. Good governance means good business. En conclusion, je souhaite profiter de l'occasion pour souhaiter la bienvenue à Madame Madeleine Paquin, qui s'est jointe à notre conseil d'administration l'automne dernier, and extend heartfelt thanks to Ms. Margaret McKenzie, who is retiring this year as the director of CN. To our shareholders, we appreciate the trust each of you places in our company and our leadership. We are focused on driving sustainable growth as we work toward our purpose to power the economy. I would now ask Tracy Robinson, our President and Chief Executive Officer, to address the meeting to share with us the highlights of 2025 and give us her perspective on what lies ahead in the coming months. But before, let's watch a short video on CN's purpose and corporate strategy.
Over a century as a pioneering railroad, 30 years as a publicly traded company, reaching in-demand natural resources, connecting our customers to global markets, delivering service excellence, fueling trade, powering the economy, then, now, and into the future. CN is driven. CN's three-coast network spans nearly 20,000 miles east-west across Canada and through the U.S. Midwest to the Gulf Coast. Every day, we safely move goods that people rely on to run businesses, feed families, and enrich lives. That's what CN does. We are driven to deliver value for customers and shareholders through all economic cycles. To be the best at what we do, we're focused on three strategic priorities. Sustain and build service excellence. We're leaning into our scheduled operating plan to drive greater reliability and customer service. Our railroaders work every day to execute the plan safely. With our strong focus, we're positioned to take performance to the next level. Grow our business. We connect customers to their markets, current and emerging. We're boots on the ground with the mindset that every carload counts. We're collaborating to provide solutions across our unique network. Grow our people. Our team of railroaders is our engine. We are working together, empowering our people to contribute to our company's success and their own. We are driven and doing our part to power the economy.
Bon matin et merci d'être ici pour notre assemblée annuelle. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for being here. Tout d'abord, je suis fière de nos cheminots et du travail fait en 2025. Je suis fière de leurs résultats, mais aussi de la façon dont ils ont été obtenus, avec discipline, esprit d'équipe et engagement constant envers l'excellence. At CN, we're driven to create value for our customers and our shareholders through all economic cycles. And I'm optimistic about what we'll continue to accomplish together. 2025 n'a pas été facile. La demande était volatile. Nous nous sommes mobilisés en mettant nos efforts sur ce qu'on pouvait contrôler. Une exploitation efficace du réseau, un service fiable et constant, la gestion disciplinée des coûts et une grande agilité au service de nos clients. That discipline mattered. It helped us navigate uncertainty and market headwinds. And once again, our people and our network proved to be resilient. The actions we took in 2025 leave us well positioned for this year and for stronger growth as volumes and economic conditions strengthen. Now let me start where we always should, with safety. Safety is our core value, and it's what matters most. En 2025, le CN a connu son plus bateau de blessures de toute son histoire. C'est un témoignage très fort du travail de nos équipes. Bravo à leur vigilance pour le travail accompli de la bonne façon. Notre priorité est simple. Veiller à ce que chaque cheminot rentre à la maison et toute sécurité à chaque jour. We're continuing to strengthen our safety culture through better training, strong leadership, and new technology. We're changing how we manage risk and prevent incidents, including the development of a mobile app that uses AI-driven analytics to help leaders improve safety performance. Our people also feel empowered to speak up and act because safety isn't someone else's job. It's a responsibility we share every shift, every day. Delivering responsibly is central to how we run our business and how we build for the future. Le CN est déjà l'une des chemins de fer les plus efficients en Amérique. Notre objectif est de continuer de fournir à nos clients des solutions de transport plus durables. Last year, nearly 12% of the fuel used in our locomotive fleet came from renewable sources. We're expanding renewable fuel blends, working closely with industry partners and continuing to explore a hybrid electric locomotive pilot. Il faut faire le bon choix pour nous et nos clients. Our scheduled operating model continues to deliver results. On améliore la fiabilité de notre service. On améliore la vitesse de nos trains. Cela nous permet d'être là pour nos clients de façon constante. Over the past 3 years, our teams have built real discipline around that plan, and it shows in our operating metrics. Our adjusted operating ratio improved by 1.2 points to 61.7%, and operating expenses per GTM came down by 2%. And we're not stopping here. Nous optimisons nos locomotives et nous terminons d'améliorer la productivité et diminuer les coûts. Nous menons aussi nos projets d'investissement de façon plus efficace. We're also investing in strategic parts of the network. Projects like the Zanardi Bridge expansion in Prince Rupert, double tracking on the Edson subdivision in Alberta, and upgrades on Iowa's Osage subdivision to handle heavier loads. Ces investissements nous permettent d'avoir un réseau plus fluide. Nous offrons une flexibilité décroissante grâce à la capacité mise en place. We have a strong franchise, and it's well positioned for the long term. We move commodities the world needs: grain, potash, critical minerals, refined fuels, and natural gas liquids. These are products that tend to hold up better through economic cycles.
We also have an unparalleled port network that provides access to all major global markets. As trade patterns continue to change, that gives us a real advantage and a clear path to grow with our customers. Chaque jour, notre équipe commerciale est sur le terrain. Elle cherche de nouveaux volumes et fournit des solutions aux clients qui visent de nouveaux marchés. In Northeast British Columbia, our investments are enabling more frac sand and NGL movements. In the U.S., we're growing our agricultural franchise. We're facilitating more opportunities by enabling heavier loads and strengthening connections between Midwest markets and the rest of our North American network. None of this works without our dedicated railroaders. L'avenir de CN repose sur des équipes engagées and compétentes, and sur des leaders à tous les niveaux. This past year, we launched a new leadership program to support our frontline supervisors in their critical roles. Nous continuons aussi à développer nos futurs leaders. Nous investissons dans les talents et la planification de la relève. At the same time, we're focused on a stronger workplace culture, making sure our railroaders understand our priorities, feel heard, and empowered to contribute. We're listening to feedback and we're acting on it. Nous abordons 2026 avec confiance. Notre réseau est solide. Notre plan est clair. Et nos équipes livrent ce qu'on attend d'eux. Nous gérons les coûts avec discipline.
We are making the right investments and taking a proactive approach.
We're ready for what's ahead as uncertainty hasn't disappeared. There's still plenty of noise out there. But our focus hasn't changed. Execute with discipline, stay close to our customers, keep the commercial intensity high, control what we can control and how we show up, and be really good at it. We're fit, we're nimble, and we can adapt to whatever environment we're in. C'est de cette façon que nous allons continuer à répondre.
We will continue to meet our customers' expectations and build long-term value for our shareholders.
Across the industry, we also remain focused on collaboration. We think that competition is essential to keep costs down and the economy sound. À tous les employés de CN,
So to all CN employees, thank you very much for your commitment to operating our railroad safely and reliably every day.
And to our shareholders, thank you for your continued trust and support. Together, we're ready to move forward and continue to power the economy.
Thank you, Tracy. Now, on behalf of CN's Board of Directors, I am pleased to call this meeting to order. Before we continue, I will ask Christina to review the process for the vote on today's motions, as well as the question and answer session that will follow the vote.
Your participation in the affairs of CN is important to us, so we are pleased to provide closed captioning, and we will proceed in both of Canada's official languages. Les actionnaires sont invités à interagir.
Shareholders are invited to interact with us in French or in English as they
CN is also providing toll-free conference call numbers for shareholders and duly appointed proxy holders who do not have internet access to participate virtually or prefer to use the phone. Voting during this meeting can only be done through our online voting platform on the webcast. You will not be able to vote your shares over the phone. If you have voted in advance of the meeting, you do not need to do anything more, and we thank you for your participation. Shareholders participating in the online webcast can put their questions in writing or ask a question using our voice or video features via the webcast. Shareholders attending by phone can ask questions orally. Dans tous les cas, le téléphoniste de
regardless of the method used, the meeting operator will manage the order of questions and connect you with you when it is your turn. We will provide more details on how to vote and ask questions during the meeting.
For the purposes of the meeting today, voting on all matters will be conducted by a single electronic ballot to provide our shareholders with ample time to vote. Voting will commence when we introduce the first motion. and the poll will stay open until all motions have been presented. You will be asked to vote today on 1. The election of directors, 2. The nomination of auditors, 3. The non-binding advisory resolution on the company's approach to executive compensation, and 4. The non-binding advisory resolution on the company's climate action plan. Pendant cette assemblée, tous les
During
actionnaires
this meeting, all registered shareholders and duly appointed proxy holders, including unregistered shareholders who have appointed themselves as proxy holders, will be able to vote online and only online.
when we introduce the first motion. If you already have voted prior to the meeting, we thank you, and you do not need to vote again once voting opens, unless you wish to change your vote. If you choose to recast your vote at the meeting, your vote submitted today will override your vote submitted prior to the meeting. During the meeting, the chair will entertain questions relating to a specific motion after that motion has been moved and seconded. Any questions not relating to a specific motion will be addressed during the question and answer session at the end of this meeting. Shareholders may submit a question at any time during the meeting as follows. 1. In writing, by typing your question in the messaging field at the top of the webcast screen and clicking the send arrow. 2. Verbally, directly through the live webcast by clicking on the request to speak button in the broadcast tab and clicking on the green check mark. You may need to scroll down to the bottom of the broadcast tab on your browser to access the green check mark. Or 3, by calling by phone the number shown on the screen. To request to speak, you will need to press star 1 and our operator will greet you. In all cases, you will need your control number found either on your proxy form or voting instruction form as applicable in order to ask your question at the meeting. Your question will be placed in the queue by our meeting operator. Si vous souhaitez poser une question portant sur une proposition
If you wish to ask a question on a specific motion, either verbally through the webcast platform or by pressing star 1 by phone, we strongly recommend that you submit your request long before the motion in question is presented in order to give our operator time to place you in the queue. The operator will open the web or phone line at the appropriate time during the motion so that you can ask your question. If time permits, subject to compliance with the rules of conduct of the meeting available on our website, we will answer all questions submitted in writing, by phone, or through the webcast platform. Relevant questions that cannot be answered during the meeting due to time constraints will be posted online on CN's website along with our answer. The questions and answers will be available shortly after the meeting and will remain online for 1 week after they are posted.
All questions submitted in accordance with our meeting rules of conduct will generally be addressed in the order they are received. When asking a question verbally over the phone or via our live webcast, please state your full name, whether you are a shareholder or duly appointed proxy holder, and the name of the city and province or state where you live. For technical assistance, you may contact the meeting support team by email at support-ca@lumiglobal.com at any time during the meeting. To keep the meeting efficient, certain shareholders have already agreed to move and second formal motions, and I will call on them at the appropriate times. Back to you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Christina. The business matters to be conducted at the meeting are set out in the Management Information Circular of the company dated March 9th, 2026. As permitted under Canadian securities rules, the company has used the notice and access regime to make available its meeting materials and sent a notice on March 25th, 2026, with all relevant information in that regard to holders of common shares at the close of business on March 6th, 2026, the record date. A copy of the confirmation of mailing of such documents has been filed with the Corporate Secretary for inclusion with the minutes of the meeting. I would now like to appoint Steve Gilbert and Vlad Telebasa of Computershare to act as scrutineers at the meeting. I have received the preliminary scrutineer's report, and based on the proxies received prior to the meeting and the shareholders and proxy holders attending this meeting via live webcast and conference call, there is a quorum for the meeting. I therefore declare that the meeting has been regularly called and properly constituted. The next item of business is the submission of the financial statements of the company. There is no formal action or resolution required with regard to this item on the agenda. I will take this opportunity to ask our Chief Financial Officer to present the company's financial performance in 2025 and the Q1 2026 results. Ghislain?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Our disciplined execution of scheduled railroading, supported by an energized commercial focus, enabled us to navigate a challenging market in 2025. We also took deliberate action to align our cost structure with volumes and drove meaningful efficiencies across the business. Together, these efforts delivered strong EPS growth and highlighted the resilience of our operating model going into 2026.
CN's diluted earnings per share increased by 8% to $7.57. Adjusted diluted earnings per share, which excludes items that affect the company's CN's financial results, increased by 7% to 7.63 cents.
Despite the weaker macroeconomic environment and the impact of tariffs that weighed on traffic levels, the commercial team stayed close to customers, helping to identify and enable new opportunities and support demand. Volumes measured in revenue ton miles increased by 1% despite these challenges. En 2025, les produits d'exploitation ont augmenté de 2%.
Revenue were up 2% to reach $17.3 billion, an increase of approximately $250 million compared to 2024, driven by higher volumes and slight rate increases, partially offset by the elimination of the Canadian federal carbon tax program. In 2025, the operating ratio, defined as operating expenses as a percentage of operating revenue, was 61.9%, an improvement of 1.5 percentage points. The adjusted operating ratio in 2025 was of 61.7%, an improvement of 1.2 percentage points compared to previous year. For management and investors, the adjusted operating ratio serves as a key performance indicator for cost management and overall operational efficiency, as it shows the extent to which management is effectively controlling costs relative to total operating revenue, excluding exceptional and non-recurring items.
CN generated over $3.3 billion in free cash flow, an increase of almost $250 million from the prior year due to higher net cash from operating activities in 2025. With a number of significant infrastructure and equipment programs now behind us, our capital requirements will ease in the coming years. These investments have reinforced the safety and efficiency of our operations and positioned our network with the capacity needed to support future growth. En 2025, le CN a investi.
CN invested $3.3 billion, a net of customers' refunds in 2026. The company expects to invest about $2.8 billion in its capital program, net of amounts reimbursed by customers, to improve the safety, the efficiency, and integrity of its network. From a financial management perspective, CN has constantly taken a prudent approach. We take pride in the strength of our balance sheet, which gives us the financial flexibility to quickly respond to changing circumstances.
Capital allocation priorities have been consistent over many years. We continue to reinvest in safe, efficient operation while maintaining a strong commitment to returning capital to shareholders. CN has delivered dividend growth year in, year out since the company was privatized in 1995. Our strong track record of dividend growth continues into 2026 with our board of directors approval last January of a 3% increase in the dividend. Nous utilisons le rachat d'actions comme un outil souple
We
pour
are
obtenir
using the share repurchases as a flexible lever to achieve a targeted leverage. Our cash flow generation has enabled cumulative share repurchases of over 15 billion in the last 5 years, while maintaining our strong investment grade credit rating. On a combined basis, we have returned over 25 billion to shareholders in the last 5 years. Our current share repurchase program, slated to continue until February 2027, provides for the repurchase of up to 24 million shares.
Nous avons une grande confiance dans notre modèle opérationnel.
We are greatly confident in our planned operating model, which improves resilience and recovery capabilities and maintains excellent service for our customers.
Reported diluted EPS of $1.87 for the quarter was up 1%, with a 3% increase in volumes in terms of RTMs, solid operational execution, and continued boots-on-the-ground commercial approach. Back to you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Ghislain. Note that we will take questions on CN's financial performance in 2025 during the question period following the end of the formal meeting. We will now proceed with the election of directors. According to the resolution of the board and in accordance with the board's governance policies, 11 directors are to be elected. Information regarding the nominees is set out in the Management Information Circular. All of the nominees for election to the board at the meeting are currently directors of the company. I will now turn it over to Christina, who will read the names of those nominated for election as directors.
Madame la Présidente, les personnes ci-après sont candidates
Here are the candidate positions of directors for the CN Rail Company: Shawnee Cruder, Joanne Tepas Kosowski, David Freeman, Denise Gray,
Justin Howell,
Susan Jones,
Robert Knight,
Michel Letelier,
Al Monaco,
Madeleine Paquin, and Tracy Robinson.
Merci, Christina. I would ask Patricia DiTadio to move the motion to nominate the directors.
Madam Chair, my name is Patricia DiTadio. I am a shareholder of the company, and I am pleased to nominate each of the persons named by the Secretary to be elected as a director to hold office until the next annual meeting of shareholders or until his or her successor is duly elected or appointed.
Thank you, Patricia. Heidi McFall, will you second the nominations?
Madame la Présidente, je m'appelle Heidi McFall.
Heidi McFall, and I am shareholder of the company, and I support the nominations.
We will now entertain questions from shareholders relating to the nomination of directors. Christina, are there any questions relevant to the election of directors?
Madam Chair, there are none.
Merci, Christina. Pursuant to a resolution adopted by the Board of Directors, 11 directors are to be elected and 11 eligible candidates have been nominated. The poll on all resolutions is now open, and you may vote at your convenience by choosing your preferred voting option, being for, against, or withhold each motion as applicable. You may change your vote at any time throughout the meeting until polling closes. The poll will close after the last item of business is presented, at which point your vote will automatically be submitted. For this motion, you are prompted to click the for or against button below the motion with respect to the election of each director. The Board of Directors and management recommend voting for the election of each director nominee. The next item of business is the appointment of the company's auditors. I would now like to call on Patricia DiTadio to present the motion to appoint KPMG LLP as auditors of the company.
Madam Chair, my name is Patricia DiTadio, and I'm a shareholder of the company. I move that KPMG LLP be appointed auditors of the company to hold office for the fiscal year 2026 or until the close of the next annual meeting of shareholders.
Thank you, Patricia. Heidi McFall, would you please second the motion?
Madame la Présidente.
Yes, Chair. My name is Heidi McFall. I am shareholder of the company, and I support the motion.
Merci, Heidi. We will now entertain questions from shareholders relating to the appointment of the company's auditors. Christina, are there any questions relevant to the appointment of auditors?
Madam Chair, there are none.
Thank you, Christina. For this item of business, you are prompted to click the for or withhold buttons below the motion with respect to the appointment of KPMG LLP as the company's auditors. The Board of Directors and company management recommend voting for the motion. The next item on the agenda is consideration of the non-binding advisory resolution on the company's approach to executive compensation. The statement of executive compensation contained in the company's management information circular discloses such approach in detail. The results of the vote will not be binding on the board. However, the board will take into account the results of the vote together with other relevant information or comments from shareholders when considering the company's approach to executive compensation. I will now call on Patricia DiTadio to move the motion.
Madam Chair, my name is Patricia DiTadio. I am a shareholder of the company. I move that the non-binding advisory resolution on the company's approach to executive compensation as set out in the Management Information Circular be approved.
Thank you, Patricia. Heidi McFall, will you second the motion?
Madame la Présidente, je m'appelle Heidi.
My name is Heidi McFall. I am a shareholder of the company, and I support the motion.
Merci, Heidi. We will now entertain questions from shareholders relating to the motion on the company's approach to executive compensation. Christina, are there any questions relevant to the non-binding advisory resolution on the company's approach to executive compensation?
Madam Chair, there are none.
Thank you, Christina. For this item of business, you are prompted to vote for or against the motion. The Board of Directors and company management recommend voting for the motion. The next item on the agenda is the consideration of the non-binding advisory resolution on the company's climate action plan. The results of the vote will not be binding on the board. However, the board will take into account the results of the vote together with other relevant information or comments from shareholders. I will now ask Ghislain Houle to present key highlights of our climate action plan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Le vote consultatif sur le plan
The
d'action
advisory vote on CN's Climate Action Plan complements the detailed and comprehensive climate-related information that CN has long provided. The information covers our governance, our actions and targets, our strategy, and our risk management practices.
The detailed plan is contained in the company's management information circular, as well as our annual CDP report, which includes a TCFD index. CN has been making a positive contribution in the fight against climate change by offering efficient transportation solutions to our customers. Nous nous démarquons en matière d'efficacité
We lead
énergétique.
the way in locomotive fuel efficiency among North America Class 1 railroads, using approximately 13% less fuel per cross-ton mile than the industry average. And we are actively working with some of our customers to help them reduce the carbon intensity of their supply chains by leveraging rail or long-haul and trucking over shorter distance. We want to be more efficient. So this is also for short distances.
CN has science-based targets in place and is committed to reducing its Scope 1 and 2 emissions intensity by 42% by 2030 and its Scope 3 emissions intensity from fuel and energy-related activities by 40% by 2030, both from the 2019 base year. Le CN continue de
CN remains on track to meet its 2030 targets as validated by the Science Based Targets Initiative, SBTI.
We have progressed 27% towards our Scope 1 and 2 target and 44% towards our Scope 3 target. We are currently in the midst of calculating our 2025 performance. Overall, achieving our 2030 target is dependent on the availability of sufficient volumes of cost-competitive renewable fuels, which will require collaboration between locomotive manufacturers, fuel producers, and governments. This ecosystem of collaboration is a key area of focus and potential risk. Those were my remarks, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Ghislain. I will now call on Patricia DiTadio to move the motion.
Madam Chair, my name is Patricia DiTadio. I am a shareholder of the company. I move that the non-binding advisory resolution on the company's climate action plan as set out in the Management Information Circular be approved.
Thank you, Patricia. Heidi McFall, will you second the motion?
Ms. Chair, my name is Heidi McFall. I am shareholder of the company and I support this motion.
We will now entertain questions from shareholders wishing to ask a question relating to the motion on the Climate Action Plan. Christina, are there any questions relevant to the non-binding advisory resolution on the company's Climate Action Plan?
Madam Chair, there are none.
All voting items have now been presented to the meeting. If you have not yet made your voting selection, please do so now. Polling will close in a few moments. As a reminder, the voting items for the meeting are as follows. A, the election of 11 directors to sit on the board of directors of the company. B, the appointment of the auditors of the company. C, the non-binding advisory resolution on the company's approach to executive compensation. And D, the non-binding advisory resolution on the company's Climate Action Plan. The 4 resolutions are displayed on your screen. To cast your vote, simply select your desired voting option, either for, withhold, or against, as the case may be, for each resolution. Your voting selections will be highlighted on your screen. Once polling closes in a few minutes, your votes will automatically be submitted, and a confirmation message will appear on your screen to show that your vote has been received. We will provide shareholders approximately 1 more minute to complete the electronic voting. Once voting is completed, I would ask that the scrutineers compile the report regarding the results of voting on all business matters. Thank you. Voting is now closed. We have now received the report of the scrutineers. According to the proxies received and the results of the electronic voting, each director nominee received 50% or more in favor of their election of the total votes cast for or against, and on average, in excess of 94% of votes in favor. I therefore declare that the 11 nominees have been duly elected as directors of the company to hold office until the next annual meeting of shareholders or until their successors are duly elected or appointed. I declare the appointment of KPMG LLP as the auditors of the company has been approved by 89% of the holders of common shares represented at this meeting. I declare that the non-binding advisory say-on-pay resolution on the company's approach to executive compensation has been approved by 91% of the holders of common shares represented at this meeting. I declare that the non-binding advisory resolution on the company's Climate Action Plan has been approved by 96% of holders of common shares represented at this meeting. I would now like to congratulate the members of your board of directors on their election. They're a talented group from all over North America who make every effort to bring value to shareholders of this company. Joanne DePass-Olsofsky, David Freeman, Denise Gray, Justin Howell, Susan Jones, Robert Knight, Michel Letellier, Al Monaco, Madeleine Paquin, Tracy Robinson, and myself, Shauneen Bruder. Thank you to our shareholders for your continued support. As we have now completed all the business before this meeting, I will entertain a motion to conclude the formal part of this meeting. Heidi, would you please move the motion?
Madame la Présidente, je m'appelle Heidi McFall.
I am Heidi McFall. I am shareholder of the company, and I move to adjourn the formal portion of the meeting.
Merci, Heidi. Patricia DiTadio, will you second the motion?
Madam Chair, my name is Patricia Vitario, and I am a shareholder of the company. I second the motion.
Thank you, Patricia. We will now proceed with the question and answer session. Christina?
Nous répondrons aux questions reçues en
We will
ligne.
be answering to questions received online by phone or through our webcast platform. To submit questions in writing, simply type them in the messaging tab at the top of the screen and submit them by clicking on the send arrow. If you ask a question by phone or through the webcast platform, for the sake of efficiency, I would ask that you limit your comments to company matters and keep your remarks to 2 minutes.
To ask a question verbally via the live webcast, click on the Request to Speak button in the Broadcast tab. Make sure you allow your browser to access your microphone, then click on the green check mark. You may need to scroll down to the bottom of the Broadcast tab on your browser to access the green check mark. You will then be placed in the queue, and our operator will open the web line for you to ask your question at the appropriate time. Pour poser une question par téléphone, veuillez
To ask a question by phone, please use the number on screen and then press star 1. Our operator will activate your line at the appropriate time to give you the floor. If time permits and subject to compliance with the rules of conduct of meeting, we will answer all written questions received online as well as those asked by phone or through the webcast platform. We will take questions in order, and the chair will invite a CN representative to respond. For questions submitted in writing, I will read the name of the person who has submitted the question, and then I will read or summarize the question. Over to you, Madam Chair.
Merci, Christina. We will now begin the question and answer session. Christina, could you please direct us to the first question?
Madam Chair, we have a question from both James Michel and Jean-Philippe Baudot as follows. Can you offer some thoughts on possible conditions to the STB merger approval that could better CN's performance, such as granting CN haulage rights to reach deeper into the Southeast U.S. markets, or perhaps direct access to Mexican markets to compete with CPKC?
Thank you, Christina. Tracy, would you address that question?
Certainly. UP&NS have filed a new application that's designed to address the significant deficiencies in their original filing. And we will reserve detailed comments until we've finished our final analysis. But based on our preliminary review, we remain concerned that the merger fails to meet the regulatory standards and will weaken competition. Now, under current STB rules, proponents of a Class 1 merger must demonstrate that the transaction is in the public interest, not only remedying any loss of competition, but actively enhancing it. We believe that this merger raises significant competition issues requiring strong remedies, which could include improved gateway conditions, access to markets at risk of losing competitive options through trackage or haulage rights, and elimination of contractual restrictions that limit interchange with short-line railways. At CN, we believe we're well positioned to address some of these issues and protect optionality for our customers, and we look forward to sharing our views in due course. I want to thank you for your question.
Thank you. We'll now proceed with the next question.
Madam Chair, we have a question in writing from Daniel Nagel as follows. CN serves my home state of Iowa, which is arguably one of the biggest producing areas of meat and meat products in the entire United States. I'd like to know why CN hasn't reintroduced intermodal services to the Iowa Division main line to tap this rich market.
Thank you, Christina. Tracy?
Thank you for your specific comments on Iowa. We are very proud to serve your state. Now at CN, we regularly assess our ability to serve specific markets, and I will follow up with Janet Drysdale, our Chief Commercial Officer, and the intermodal team to have someone reach out to you directly. Thank you.
Thank you. Christina, next question, please.
Next question is in writing from Ali Gina, as follows. Any comments or thoughts on upcoming CUSMA negotiations and how this will impact the firm? Thanks.
Tracy, could you respond?
Over the past year, we have all been watching closely the negotiations around the review and renewal of the CUSMA agreement. This remains an important part of our business, so we're watching it very closely with our impacted customers. Now, we believe that fair trade, including the removal of trade barriers, whether they be national or international, contributes to a stronger economy for all of us. So here at CN, we continue to invest in the fluidity and the capacity of our network to support the needs of our customers, no matter how the trade flows emerge over time.
Thank you. We'll now proceed with our next question. Christina?
Madam Chair, we have a question from Daniel Nagel. As I'm sure you're aware, there are several passenger rail proposals currently under review, some of which could involve using CN's Iowa Division main line, specifically west of Rockford, Illinois, to Dubuque, Iowa, and possibly to Waterloo, Iowa. Why has CN been reluctant to entertain Amtrak or another operator as a tenant?
Thank you, Christina. Tracy, could you respond?
We work very closely with Amtrak on providing passenger service in various parts of the United States. I don't know the answer to your specific question, but I will ask our passenger services team to get back to you on this question as well. However, I can tell you that we balance capacity on our network, so we have to be very careful with dealing with our partners on the passenger side to ensure that both passenger services and our freight operations operate effectively.
Thank you. Next question, Christina.
Madam Chair, we have a question on the English phone line. Operator, would you please open the line for Madison Krieger of North Star Asset Management?
Madison, please go ahead.
Hi, my name is Madison Krieger with North Star Asset Management in Boston. My question is, on March 4th, CN Rail released its Indigenous Reconciliation Action Plan annual report for 2025. We recognize the progress the company has made to advance Indigenous reconciliation to meet the Truth and Reconciliation Commission call to Action 92. However, we are concerned that CN's Indigenous Reconciliation Action Plan may not completely reflect the report provided by the Indigenous Advisory Council, all of whom resigned in 2023, and respond to the Council's recommendations. Can you provide shareholders with more information on how the Indigenous Advisory Council report and recommendations shaped the commitments contained within the Indigenous Reconciliation Action Plan and any other related Indigenous reconciliation commitments? Additionally, we recognize that external Indigenous advisory councils play a crucial role in supporting and monitoring the progress of a company's Indigenous reconciliation commitments and strategies by providing guidance, strategic visioning, and advice for effective implementation of a company's reconciliation commitments and goals. CN recognized the relevancy and importance of such a council before its members all resigned in 2023. Can you speak to CN's plans to reconstitute an Indigenous Advisory Council to support the implementation of its Indigenous Reconciliation Action Plan and related reconciliation commitments? Thank you.
Madison, thank you for your question. I will invite Olivier Choup to respond. Olivier?
Thank you for your question, Madison. Our Reconciliation Action Plan was informed by many sources, starting with the input from the communities themselves, both through our regular engagement and through the specific consultation we carried out on our Reconciliation Action Plan. We also took into account the Indigenous Advisory Council's perspective. Our Reconciliation Action Plan evidences our genuine desire to build stronger, mutually beneficial relationship with Indigenous communities. It is a living document that will continue to evolve based on the feedback we receive from communities and our lived experience. While we are grateful for the wisdom our council shared with us, we do not intend to reconstitute a new council, at least for the time being. Thank you.
Thank you, Olivier, and thank you for the question. Christina, next question, please.
Madam Chair, there are no further questions. This concludes the question and answer portion of the meeting. I will now turn the meeting back to the Chair of the Board, Ms. Bruder. Over to you.
Thank you, Christina. In closing, I want to thank everyone who made today's event possible, including all of those who worked so hard behind the scenes to ensure our shareholders were able to participate in the meeting online and over the phone. Je vous remercie tous de votre participation.
Thank you so much for your participation at the meeting and for your continued support.
And good health to all. À l'année prochaine.
Thank you so much. Until next year. Goodbye.